You got Audacity up?
Let me pull it up.
And you have headphones in?
Nope. We get headphones in.
Come on, Kobe.
I know.
Podcast recording 101.
In my defense, I forgot that I was doing this until, I texted you.
No worries.
Hello, my friends.
Thank you for joining us for the PEBCAK Podcast, a weekly information security show featuring some all-around good people. It is week 22 of 2025. I'm Chris Louie, and happy to be here delivering the podcast this week. Due to scheduling and things going on in the host's personal lives, it has been challenging, so appreciate you all still tuning in every week. With me, we do not have the Cloud God today, as he is delivering an important talk at our annual user conference in Las Vegas. And we should have Glenn Medina this week. He is planning on joining us halfway through the episode, so he will be on later.
Believe it when I see it.
Exactly. Spoke like a true skeptic.
I was gonna say I'm not the one that should be talking though, based on last week's podcast. So
Last week and the week before that,
and the week before,
and a month ago.
and then about 6 months ago. But it's okay.
As you can hear, our guest this week is the returning Kobe Caputo. Kobe is finally on the show. We are excited to have him. The son. Kobe's also staying at the Devil's Playground and sweating his tail off in lovely Las Vegas. So thank you for making the time to join us here today.
Of course. I'm joining from the 67th floor of the Fountain Blue. So there you go.
67. That must be some nice views. Well, you have the view of the Sphere.
I did. That is true. It's playing a U2 concert as we speak. So
You should go check it out later.
if I'm distracted, that's why. I blame the Sphere.
Combined, we still have decades of information security experience and here not just to educate, but to entertain. We've got 4 awesome stories for this week, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. This week, we're going to talk about an old healthcare topic with Kobe. A security vendor experiences a major outage. For our third topic, the VirusTotal of hackers gets taken down, and close with stranded in an airport talk.
For years until 12 o'clock every night, like we do.
For our first topic, while we wait for Glenn to show up, we revisit a story from a few weeks ago when Kobe was supposed to be on but late. We always have this habit of talking about healthcare stories when we don't have our healthcare experts on the podcast. We're talking about the pharmacist at a hospital putting malware on his coworkers' computers to remotely turn on their webcam and watch them change and steal social media credentials to log into their accounts and steal their intimate photos. The malware was installed on hundreds of computers and went on for over 10 years. He only got caught when the FBI got a hold of the stolen photos and they notified the victims. Kobe, how does this happen and what should happen to the creeper?
Man, locked up forever for sure. I think this one's weird. So reading through it, the fact that this has been over a decade of him doing this at the same clinic, the same medical center, University of Maryland, it's just shocking. I mean, how can that happen where he's putting keystroke loggers on machines, over 80 machines is what it said, stealing personal information, and the hospital came out and said that it was a very complicated attack, but healthcare 101 is like the very basic of basics is you block all the USB. There's no access to USB, and then they very likely should be caring about HIPAA data and data protection stuff. So how could they not recognize a keylogger? It was really interesting to me, but it just speaks ebbs and flows to the fact that healthcare is vulnerable to this stuff. But if he was able to do it and he just walked into the room and took over a machine, how can somebody else, what can a patient do that? Can a patient go and just turn around and their bedside computer and plug a USB drive into it, or so it kind of just speaks volumes to just how complicated this attack was, but really just how how basic and high level it is too.
This is like when someone gets breached and says, we were hit by a very sophisticated attack.
Exactly.
Just someone clicked on a phishing link. Like, not
exactly. Yeah.
100%.
So
I will
it was an interesting read.
I'm part of a health group here in Northern California. I've been to a number of their hospitals and clinics and facilities, and I would say, when my son was born, so he's 6 now, so about 6 years ago, they left us in the room, computer fully unlocked, Windows 7 desktop. I could have done whatever I want to it. Maybe they blocked USB, maybe they didn't. Maybe they blocked, malware download sites, maybe they didn't. But I will say, within the last year or so, same clinics, same chain, they all have the Imprivata smart card. So everybody has to tap in, they have to log in, no unlock computers around patients, and I think that speaks to the direction of healthcare. They're getting better. Imprivata, I think, is like the premier identity provider for healthcare. It is very quick. Just tap your card. It auto logs you in. Do what you need to. Tap out. Log out. And I guess this guy got away with it for 10 years because I would say even just 6 years ago, or probably even more recently, security practices around healthcare was very lax. Like, we had a fully unlocked Windows 7 desktop in the patient room.
Oh yeah. And there, I mean, you still see that today. Even back when I was in the healthcare field, there was machines that you couldn't touch. They had Windows 7 images, or some even XP and older, where they were certified at the time, and then you can't alter them at all. So they get their certification. They say, hey, this machine at the time, exactly when we certified it, with all the software and everything installed. Exactly. Yeah, this is what we certified, and you can't do anything to it. And so I think that's really why, like, the Imprivata OneSign stuff is amazing too, and just why the industry switched to a lot more virtualization in healthcare specifically is just because, hey, at the beginning of every morning you have a golden image, you restart from scratch. There's, not the risk of people going in and physically doing anything on the machines anymore. It kind of takes the physical risk out of it. If somebody steals it, which we had people steal, we had the little, I forgot what those were called, the little HDMI sticks that Dell had them for a while, and it was like this little tiny
PC on a stick. I remember
the PC on a stick, yeah. And so we would, we had tens of thousands of those all over the place, and all the time you'd hear they were stolen, or like somebody would take them, and it's like, okay, what are you gonna do with it? There's literally nothing you can do on it. There's nothing on it. So whereas previously, if you took it, those things are automatically logging in. They have credentials that are set to auto login. So it's weird. But yeah, that's wild to me. 2025 and that happens. It's just crazy.
I remember that was the case. I worked at Citrix, and that was the whole case for VDI, that you start with a base golden image and refreshes every time you reboot it. Like, you can have a roaming profile, so I can have my documents full, I can have my pictures full of it. If there's any resident malware in RAM or persistent through memory or something that you would reboot, you just throw it away and get a brand new one every time you reboot. And that was that was one of the value propositions. But apparently, I guess this particular clinic just had user laptops. Apparently no AV, no EDR. I think that should have caught it at that layer. No network security that's phoning home to this guy's home computer as the command and control, or some random server in AWS. And that should have been caught at multiple layers. But for 10 years, that's a long time to go undetected.
Again, could you imagine too, the way that they found out is because the FBI found photos of the victims.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not even because the hospital, found it and then reported it or told their employees. It was because the actual employees were given pictures of themselves on their work laptops. And you're like, what? How does this happen?
That uncommon. I referenced that. I worked at Citrix for a while, and Citrix themselves were notified of a data breach because the FBI, I can't remember the terms of it, but I think the FBI raided some kind of, they got a hold of some stolen data, and it was all Citrix employee data, and then they notified Citrix, like, hey, you got a problem here. There's all this Citrix employee data out there, myself included. I got the data breach notice and everything, but it was the FBI or DHS that told Citrix, hey, you're breached.
That's crazy. Yeah, I was reading a statistic over a year ago now, but it was like 98% or 99% of companies have already been breached. Like the data has already been taken, or is in the process of being taken, or has been taken. It's just a matter of if they're going to do anything about it, if it's going to be actually told or reported, or but it's just wild. It's interesting.
Yeah, they're gonna try to monetize it, or they gotta use it for a future attack. Like when you look at things like LastPass, they got breached, and LastPass is like, oh, no big deal. They stole our encrypted data. It's encrypted, so don't worry about it. And then they get breached 3 months later.
Then they get breached
they get
again.
the keys.
And then exactly, right?
Oops,
oh,
that encrypted
you need
data
to worry
is no longer encrypted. Uh-oh.
I love that. That's horrible. Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah, 10 years, not a good look from a cybersecurity standpoint, and I mean, like I
healthcare.
said, yeah, exactly. Hopefully, that's the direction of healthcare that we see, that they start taking these things more seriously. We've had you on before, and you said the number one driver is patient care, but there should be within there somewhere protecting user data, protecting the hospital,
Totally.
protecting their patients, and I think that priority is starting to get moved up, and that's going in the right direction.
Yeah, I was talking with Stephen Hadjany. He's been on the show before, just today or just yesterday actually, and he was saying that he started seeing a shift a lot. So there's been a lot from the board level down. Is hey, we understand patient care is obviously critical and it's important, but what we're starting to see is a lot of the vendors that are coming in are more focused on cybersecurity now. So those regulations and the continuous the certifications of devices and things, the timelines are being closer together. It's not 6-10 years. It's like every few months. And so there definitely is more of a focus on it within the last 5 years, but it's still far behind the rest of the industry, sadly.
I think that's also part of it. So you mentioned the regulations, that we have this golden XP image. You cannot deviate this one literal bit from it. And it's like, is this like regulatory capture? Is it over-regulation that's stopping it? Because obviously XP is full of holes. It should be retired. But does it take 8 years to get a device certified? And by the time you certify the device, it becomes obsolete. Literally the day that it's released from, it's okay. So we can't install patches, which in many cases that was actually truly how it was. So yeah, it's like you take a hash of the operating system, and if you deviate one single bit, like to apply a security patch, then you become no longer compliant. And I dealt with FedRAMP in a past life, and that was the thing. We had a product that was FedRAMP certified, and it says you change one bit of code on this thing, you have to get recertified. Now it wasn't the full FedRAMP certification, but it is time consuming, and I get why. Like, you don't want rogue data being on U.S. federal systems, but like, come on, security patches.
There should be guidelines, and it's it's a very old
That's what we
term.
should do, Kobe. We should become lobbyists and write public policy how to secure healthcare facilities. And
what LLM are we going to use? Oh man,
we're going to start the Kobe Louis lobbyist organization.
Right? Our standards are going to be great. Don't you worry. Yeah. That's funny. Oh man.
For our second topic, security vendor SentinelOne experienced a 7-hour outage last week, and the final root cause came back as, wait for it, drumroll, a software flaw. Now,
shocking.
SentinelOne is one of our technical partners here, but we do like to report the news, and this is all public information. And what happened is that SentinelOne was migrating a service in AWS. They're on, I guess, some kind of legacy AWS. They're moving to IAC, the infrastructure as code, and somehow a legacy environment became what they consider the primary environment, and its route table got replicated across all of their production servers. And the route table for this legacy environment was completely blank, so it was empty because they didn't use it anymore. It was a legacy environment, so no routes, no DNS, no internet, which meant no service. It took SentinelOne approximately 7 hours to get back online, and they reported that their security service was not interrupted, but notifications and managed service provider workflows and automations that rely on telemetry, they were all down during this time.
In that fucking building, bottom and
this was not as bad as the CrowdStrike outage last year, since devices did not blue screen and become unusable, but as great mentors taught me in the past, this is why it is important to stay humble and not kick your competitor when they're down, because one day it could happen to you.
Yeah, this one's interesting. I think wildly, I actually didn't know that this happened. I was over the weekend, and I didn't know until I was preparing for this, but it's very similar to like what we saw with Zoom. I think it was last month or a month and a half ago, but there was like total DNS outage, and it was I think it was related back to a Route 53 issue, but where literally DNS is always the problem. It's always doesn't matter where. It's always DNS.
Yeah, so, I think the Zoom issue was it related to the domain registrar, where I think
is
the
that what it was?
Domain registrar deleted their registration.
Killed their values.
It deleted all their DNS records, and that was it. Because I think the workaround was like hard code DNS in your DNS server, your forward resolver, and that fixed it. But not DNS is there for a reason. We don't want hard-coded IP addresses, but it had something to do with the registrar deleting the DNS values there.
Yep.
Does that mean that I could have bought Zoom for like a split second there? Was it open?
You went into that building?
It wasn't that it was open. Like, it wasn't one of those errors. I remember a decade ago someone bought Google.com because it expired and some employee just bought
and
it.
it didn't get renewed. Yeah. Yep.
This one was I don't know the exact root cause, but I think it was like flagged as malicious or flagged as something. So it was flagged as something. They took it down as a result. And when you take down a domain registrar's record, that deletes all the DNS records.
Yeah. Wow. There should be fail safes for that. That's somebody.
I think there are now.
That RCA must have been fun to write. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez. Interesting. Huh. And I think Slack's outage was DNS related as well. One of the 2 or 3.
Yeah, it almost always is. It's
Yeah.
DNS, it's BGP, it's DHCP. It's always something. The great Facebook outage that was somebody.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're allowed to use the word fat finger anymore, or someone did a mistype of a command, deleted the entire route tables, and then even like the badge readers to get into the Facebook data centers relied on that.
We're out.
And they couldn't get in. I think they had to find a physical key to get in.
Wasn't there a similar story with AWS too? Like an engineer was going to like calculate scaling or something and accidentally like completely deleted the entire scaling.
So yeah.
I think there was an outage or something. It was like one of the only major AWS outages, but it was because of an engineer. So
yeah,
it was the intern.
And that's why, like, you think of Meta, even they're $1 trillion multi-trillion-dollar market cap company. They're prone to human error.
Yep, absolutely.
They said they're putting better checks in place for the commands, input sanitation and everything, but still, delete this route.
Yep, right.
That's all it took to take down all of Meta's infrastructure for, I think it was 8 or 10 hours.
Jeez, that's crazy. No more monetization.
Yeah. And I remember someone made a joke that said, if there was ever a vaccine for the internet, this would be it. Just delete all the Meta properties.
Yeah, no, it's so true. I remember reading that as well. They were like, oh, well, Instagram's down. All right. Maybe I should go outside. But
yeah, exactly. But yeah, that also shows the danger of migrating things. Like, you have to be really careful with these things, and you can't just YOLO code out there and do your testing in production. As we've seen, like, even the greats, the very large companies, like, they're not immune to these human errors.
I think the most interesting, and I used to be a customer, so I was a consumer of some Cloudflare stuff, but there was some really interesting, just like whenever they have an outage of any kind, they release this really long public RCA. And every time it goes in like extreme detail of exactly what happened, how they're fixing it, but like to the server level number, like the rack it was in, and like what they're doing. It's pretty interesting. So those are always fun to kind of learn about. Wow, that actually can happen. Like there was a huge power outage 2 years ago. Where a generator tried to start and it tripped a breaker, and so it caused other generators to try to start, and then the whole data center died. It's like, oh man.
What you call a cascading effect.
Exactly, yeah. The batteries didn't work right, so.
Yeah, that's what I can appreciate about Cloudflare. There's a lot of people hate on them, but there's a lot of reasons to like Cloudflare, and that's one of the reasons is the transparency that they say, like, there's ways to respond to outages. We've seen very poor responses, and I think Cloudflare is on the better side of it, that they do go into detail. They're fully open kimono that says, sorry, we screwed up, and this is how we did it, and this is how we'll prevent it in the future. And I think Cloudflare is on I would say the better side of the great apologies whenever anything, and it doesn't happen very often, but when it does happen, like, they're very open and honest about it, which I think a lot of customers can appreciate.
No, I completely agree with you. I think the last point on that one too is, in the mindset of the SentinelOne thing, it's really interesting when EDR vendors have an outage, because that there's threat actors that are looking at those trust pages and are like, oh wait, something's down, oh their validity service is down, or oh their endpoints are down, and it's immediately a free for all to try and figure out if the efficacy is actually working or not, right?
Now's the perfect time to launch our malware.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, it's all on standby.
Hey,
So.
look who's here.
I made it.
Oy
First week
vey.
back.
Oy
It's
vey.
been a Backstreet Boy fan. I love it.
Kobe's gonna go to the Sphere to watch the Backstreet Boys.
No kidding. That's
Yeah.
it. That's
Playing
it.
right before Black Hat, so who knows?
He's taking his customers there. There you go.
Exactly. I'm okay with that. I'm sure they are too.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. Find a way to tag the wife along.
I know. We got Glenn on now.
I should read the show notes, shouldn't I?
Come on.
You don't do it on a
Hey.
normal week. Why would this week be any different, Glenn?
Yeah. I don't know where you guys are in the discussion. That's the
We're on
problem.
topic 2. We're talking about the SentinelOne outage that happened a couple
Oh,
days
yeah.
ago.
Yeah, that's do not throw cake at another person, right? Or egg or whatever the heck, whatever
That's what
the
we were
term
just
is.
saying.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen
how
to you.
bold.
It's the worst karma.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't recall exactly. I know that people at CrowdStrike were poking at SentinelOne because I think SentinelOne was one of the vendors. When CrowdStrike had the big outage, I think SentinelOne had some, I
Yeah,
don't know,
come to
maybe
us.
humor,
Campaigns. Yep.
Yeah.
campaign towards them.
Yeah.
And
There's a lot of
they're
guys.
like, hey, now is laughing.
Yeah.
Probably not as bad as Cyber Reason. I remember Cyber Reason when the CrowdStrike thing went down.
the
Cyber Reason,
fuck?
they set up like a 1-800 number. Don't quote me on this, but it was like 1-800 no CRWD, like no CrowdStrike or something.
Oh my
Something
word.
like that. I'm like, all right, that's
That's
not
not
tongue in
good.
cheek. That's a little too
No.
obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the kind of times when that's the worst thing you could possibly do as a company, because it's not like people are going to be like, oh, what a great idea, like I should move. They're like, our entire infrastructure is down and you're making fun of us for making this decision.
Yeah.
So instead, companies should like Zscaler, worked on an entire business continuity plan and really kind of focused and strategized in those areas, as we saw with a ton of other companies in the market. Learn from your friends' mistakes, right? Or try and make your market better. But
Yeah, it's the the rising tide lifts all ships. That yes, bad things will happen, but we can all learn from it, and we'll all
course.
be better from it. And that's I'm going back to Cloudflare, which is what I appreciate about them. They go really into detail on it, and it's like, yeah, that could happen to us, but now we'll put the proper controls in place that it can't happen to us now.
yep.
And I'm back.
There you are. All right.
And for our next topic,
For the next time.
For our third topic,
yeah.
law enforcement has
We're about to
taken
get in
down
trouble, dude.
AVCheck, a site used by cybercriminals to see if their
What about
malware
you
would
just
be
throw at me?
detected by commercial antivirus and security products before releasing them
Candy?
into the wild. You can think of this as a VirusTotal for criminals.
Candy?
Now, the problem with VirusTotal is that
There's no
any
peanuts
malware
up there, you
samples
fucking
uploaded
liar.
to VirusTotal becomes community
You don't eat
property, so
peanuts,
any
so you're
other
lying.
participating researchers can grab that
There's no
malware
peanuts
sample,
up there.
begin to reverse engineer it, and start writing
You're
detections
gonna
for
find
it.
a peanut up there, bro.
This company, AVCheck, also ran what are called crypting services, which change and morph
Yeah,
the
you're about to
malware
get punched,
to make
dude.
it more stealthy and undetectable by commercial
Fucking
AV
fine ass.
software.
There's no peanuts up there.
So I remember when I was working for another company, what they did was we had this piece of malware. It wasn't actually malware. It just
You're
looked like
eating gum,
malware,
too?
and we would effectively change the hash just to make it look like it was a
Huh?
new
Don't be
piece of
spitting
malicious
gum
code
out, man.
in order to run it through some kind of sample. But this looks legit. Like
Throw that shit in the trash.
it's to do it. It's just like it's AV check against actual malware. Is that what I'm reading on here? I'm just
Like
looking at this for the
commercial.
first time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
commercial AV vendors. So you'll have like a SentinelOne, a CrowdStrike, a Zscaler, a Avast, a McAfee, and you run it through there, and you see who detects it, and you keep morphing the malware until it goes undetected by all these malware engines. Because you could take the best AV engine out there, and it'll be call it 99.99% accurate, but that still means 1 out of every 10,000 samples will get through, and you just have to write it and hide it in a way that it gets through.
That's traditional malware, though, right? That's not doing any type of sandboxing or anything like that.
Yeah, and that's typical. Like when you
Static.
go into you're assuming that 100% of organizations out there practice good cybersecurity hygiene and do things like quarantine and sandboxing and AI analysis, but most of the time is this coming from CloudFront? Yes, let it through.
Kobe, where are you?
I am in Sin City out here.
Oh wow.
He's at Xeon Live on the
I'm in Vegas.
68th floor.
67th floor.
67th floor. Okay,
close.
that's close.
Do I look
DVDs in the
distracted?
cloud.
Do you see me staring off into the distance?
Are you looking over the Mandalay Bay pool?
The sphere. Oh, the sphere is right outside my window, and I'm looking at butterflies right now fly into the sunset. So
It's calling you. It's totally calling you.
yeah, oh yeah.
That's why he's got the button-down shirt. He's got no glasses on. He's got the hair done. Like he's dressed to impress.
It's the only time you see it. Yeah,
Yeah.
on a podcast, right?
If we had smell-o-vision, he probably has some cologne on too, right?
I bet he
I
does.
do.
Yeah, I bet he
I
does.
do.
Some CK1 there, Kobe.
Some polo black.
CK1.
CK1.
He's got some Dracar Noir.
Oh my gosh. Wild people. What are they? Yes, it's all of it.
It was.
Yeah. So what's with this scripting service, Chris?
It's just like the cat and mouse game, like you said. So the first antivirus, Norton antivirus, McAfee antivirus, is very MD5 based, signature based, and it was, does this file match this MD5? Yes. All right, it's malicious. So then we created, or I shouldn't say we, but the hacking community created something called the hash buster, which again, you just change one bit of the code, it has a different hash, and you change the hash, and it goes by undetected. And then it was heuristic based, and then it was host based, and there's all these, security got better, and then the evasion techniques had to get better as well. And that's when you'll see like obfuscated JavaScript, you'll see obfuscated code, or you'll see checks to see if this computer is a virtual machine and I'm being analyzed. Are there hooks into the
Sandbox,
kernel?
yeah.
That's a dead giveaway. This is an analysis machine. So this crypting service would just continue. And I think this was one of the very, very early stories we did on AI, was that AI, you could plug it in, take a piece of malware, and the job of this AI is to modify the malware, run it through the AV engine. It's detected, yes, run it through again, change it a little bit, and they would keep doing this. They have tens of thousands of iterations until it becomes undetectable. And then now you have a new straight up malware that's undetectable that you can go out there and deploy on endpoints that would not get detected, even if they are protected with AV or EDR.
They go through the process of changing it so many times that it turns into a modified version of Minecraft or something.
Yeah.
The
That whole
AI
trace
got
buster
creative.
buster thing.
Yeah, exactly. Wait, this was supposed to be a cred stealer. Hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Well, that's why you never trust the endpoint, and maybe you just gotta go through an enterprise browser. Never touches the endpoint, and just gets sandboxed in this process here.
Could be. Or you do cloud RBI, and then it never touches anything but something on the edge.
It's the best of the
Street
best.
pixels only.
Yeah, the only thing that's protecting that though is slowness, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. That's the trade-off, right? Security,
yeah.
convenience, and then
Yeah.
you gotta find a middle ground there.
Yeah, yeah.
Or you
Lots
just
of
have all
ways,
three.
right? Could. Definitely could. It's called a, what do you call it? Layers. Like an ogre.
Layers.
Layers.
Like
What
an
do
ogre?
onions and ogres
Yeah.
have in common? Layers.
Yeah, layers.
You have layers.
Layers. Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Come on, Kobe. I would have thought you got that.
Kobe's not a
That-
Shrek fan.
I said
be
layers.
this time.
I said I mouthed it.
Yeah, you said layers. You're like layers. Like layers? Like, I don't
Layers?
understand layers. Really?
Layers?
Like an ogre.
Layers.
Like an ogre.
I
Shrek.
need to go back and watch Shrek. It's been a
I'm
long
gonna have,
time.
We're gonna have to go.
Kobe's
yeah.
about 20 years
been a
younger
long
than me, so it's
time.
like it was definitely before his time. 'Cause I remember.
Oh, I've seen it though. I'm regularly reminded through memes. Don't worry. Yeah.
Fiona. Come on, man.
Layers.
Right.
Fiona.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna rewatch that for sure. I think they're coming out with a new one. I'm pretty sure.
Right.
Always,
trilogy?
I know there's at least 3, plus the
4.
Christmas specials, plus the spin-off Puss in Boots, and
Yeah.
I mean, this franchise probably is like up to 10 movies.
Yeah,
right?
26. 2026.
Probably. Shrek 4,
Yeah, Shrek 5.
5. I
Don't
didn't even know there was
get-
a 4th.
I know there was
That is
Shrek the Turd. Shrek the Turd, right? So
Oh, apparently Zendaya is in it.
It's just
Oh,
like
wow.
everything now.
I know, right? That's amazing. Well, there we go. All right, we're gonna have a podcast about it. Perfect.
All right,
There
coming
you go.
2026.
2026,
Security
December,
Summit.
December of 26.
We're all gonna watch Shrek
Security
this year.
podcast turns to Shrek.
no, we're gonna watch Idiocracy. That's that is such a good movie. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's really explains what's happening to the world right now. So
Every couple of years, people are like, "Yep, Idiocracy was right."
yeah,
It's not just
totally.
today. It was like 4 years ago,
Yeah,
years ago, 10 years ago.
yeah, totally.
They accurately predicted that one.
They're shooting things down.
All right, Glenn's right in time for our last topic, and it'll be a rotating topic every week. This week, we're going to talk about getting stuck in an airport. And there was a interesting article in the Wall Street Journal about a travel writer, and this person got stuck at an airport overnight. And thankfully, knock on wood, I have never been stuck at an airport overnight, but I think the longest delay I've had was probably 8 hours. It was
Oh my word.
pretty uncomfortable. I would say, not ideal, but I've never gotten stuck overnight. So I would say, have either of you two ever been stuck overnight due to a flight delay?
I have.
I've been.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't officially overnight, but I had like an 8 o'clock that got pushed to 3 a.m. So, I mean, kind
Yeah.
of, but not officially. Yeah.
Got one of them.
But Glenn, you have? Were you put up in a hotel?
So this is prior to.
Hospitality.
Well, yeah, prior to hospitality. Yeah, this is back in the caveman days when
Yeah.
the Wright brothers came out.
The prop
so-
planes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
there
You
you
didn't
go.
have PR to help you?
Yeah, this is
Rebook?
not commercial. This is actually not a
I didn't have
commercial
PR
flight.
to help me.
Yeah, this
That's
is not a
awesome.
commercial flight. I was in the military, and I was flying what they call space available.
Yep.
With the Military Airlift Command. And so there's an Air Force base right close to me, which is Travis Air Force Base. So I guess I'm revealing some operational
Some OPSEC.
information here. Yeah. And I was flying back to North Carolina. So North Carolina is Pope Air Force Base, which I think back then it was attached to Fort Bragg, from my understanding. I think it's like Fort Freedom or Base Freedom now, or whatever the heck they want to call it. Anyways, on my way there, I actually got lucky, got on the flight because I was active duty. Had brought my military uniform with me, so I got priority flight. But got put on priority to get on that flight. And we're flying. I don't know if you guys have ever flown in a military plane. It's quite impressive.
I can confidently say I have not.
Yeah, so you board the plane. There's no. They give you basically earbuds, not earbuds, but little foam things because it's really loud in the plane.
Earplugs.
Yeah, and
The little foam things.
yeah, and you sit. The one that I had, there was no upper. There wasn't an upper floor where you could sit and have where they had people sitting. You sat in the cargo
On the
area,
rows. Yeah.
in the rows, in red webbing
Yeah.
seats, right? So if I had known that, I would have brought a blanket because that was the coldest I've ever been in my life. Because there's no heat on that thing.
No pressurized cabin.
Yeah.
Oh,
If I remember correctly, it's freezing. A couple of the folks went and got sat in the Humvee because they were trying to insulate themselves from the cold.
My gosh.
no heater in the
Yeah.
Humvee either.
Well, you couldn't turn the Humvee on.
I was gonna
but
say.
the whole point was, yeah,
Pretty
yeah.
Oh, you'll get heat,
Yeah.
but
So that's the
Be
first
permanent.
part. That's just the flight itself. We were coming in. We flew. For some reason, it seemed like we flew over the North Pole because the one hatch that you could see through, it was just clear white, whatever, right? It was just amazing. Wow. It was just whatever. Anyways, the next thing I knew, we were diverted to McGuire Air Force Base, which is in New Jersey, and I'm like, oh my God, where WTF am I going? I have to be back at work on Monday, and I think I flew out on a Friday just to be safe, just to make it safe, because I knew I was flying space available.
Yeah.
And I ended up at McGuire overnight, stayed in what they call base billeting for you civilians. It's basically housing for enlisted folks and military folks that are in transit. So it's like a Holiday Inn, right, of sorts. But not as nice. Actually, this one's Air Force, so base billeting for Air Force was a lot nicer than base billeting for Army. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just so happens we landed. I'd like to say we landed at like 8-9 o'clock at night. I made it to the mess hall. Had to walk in rain, and then got stuck on base. And they told us come back at 4 a.m. where it's 8. Got stuck at 4. They put me in base billeting. The good news is, because if you're Air Force and you had some rain, we're on Air Force Base, if you were E5 and above, you were allowed your own room. If you're below that, then you have to share a room.
You had a bunk.
I was lucky enough to not have to share a room.
Spread out.
The good news was I didn't have to stay in the terminal, but I did get delayed for quite some time. Told to go back to the airport at 4 o'clock in the morning, to the terminal at 4 o'clock in the morning. So it wasn't much sleep. And then had to go walk to the terminal, which was, a mile or two away, and then sit there for the next 5 hours and wait for the plane to get ready to take off. I can't remember if it was weather or if it was mechanical. So,
Jeez.
But that was quite an ordeal. Yeah, it wasn't that fun. It wasn't that fun.
What would you recommend if you ever had to do it again? A blanket?
Yeah,
multiple blankets.
Multiple blankets, a pillow, fuzzy slippers.
Oh man,
nice little eye mask.
Yeah. There's such thing as class, right? So when you fly commercial, you've got first class, business class, extended, coach plus.
Premium economy,
and then you got exit row, and then you've
standing
got
only. Yeah.
The fodder, right? The fodder, right, is what I would consider that. Like flying on a military flight, a MAC flight, that was like fodder. I can't think about it, right? You take hundreds of people on a plane, and you fly them clear across the United States into another country to get them there, all wearing their gear. Pretty amazing. But I think now when they do that, they fly them commercial chartered planes, so they're all really nice planes. But the equipment has to get there, and somebody has to go with that equipment. So that's probably not as nice as it was. Yeah. So,
yeah. That's
sorry. That was a long story.
Could have just said a blanket.
Yeah.
That's one of those travel tips. Carry a blanket. For me. This is totally unrelated to the airport story, but something I learned pretty early on was every year we have a sales kickoff. Oftentimes it's in Las Vegas in August, which you would think 110, 150, you think of Las Vegas in the summer, very hot. So I'm like, I'm not an idiot. I'm not even gonna bring a jacket to the desert in the summer. Sure enough, you go to the hotel. We're stuck inside air conditioning. It's like 50 degrees. It's like 50 degrees in the hotel. So I now bring a lightweight jacket with me anytime I travel to Las Vegas in August.
The hotter it is outside, always. Yeah.
I like to wear a vest just because my chest gets cold. The arms not so much, right? So, like a puffy vest is really lightweight to pack with you. But yeah, Chris, you live in San Francisco. The coldest you'll ever be is a summer's night in San Francisco, right? So
it is, but you wouldn't expect Las Vegas in August, 110 outside, 50 degrees inside. I learned my lesson on that one.
Yeah. I heard you guys got some weather there in Las Vegas.
Yeah,
Or
it poured.
Yeah, thunderstorms.
Yeah. It's actually coming in again right now. So
All right.
we'll
That's
see.
what Kobe's looking at. He's like,
I am.
"It's my F1 event. Gotta get canceled."
Got the
tonight."
sphere. Well, some of it did yesterday. So
Wow.
I didn't get the chance, unfortunately.
Well, it is the world's smallest violin playing
Yeah, I know.
right now for Kobe.
Thank you. I need that. That really. Thank you. My travel tip, because you care, is if you check a bag, always bring a toothbrush and a change of clothes, because you might lose your
100%.
bag. And I learned that the hard way on a family trip once, and I only had a backpack with me with nothing in it, so
Yeah,
I do that
can
all the
see
time
that.
now.
That's a
At
good
least
one.
clean underwear
Right. Yeah.
at a minimum. Pack
Yeah.
that speedo, Kobe.
And
I always have like a granola bar or a candy bar in my bag too now. So
Yes, yeah. So in the article there are a couple of travel tips, and like the number one travel tip, and I wholeheartedly recommend this to everybody: pack extra snacks. Like in your backpack, you're carrying
yeah.
on. Bring granola bars, bring protein bars, because you never know. 8-hour delay, and sometimes it's like
It's
you're
on the
delayed
plane.
on the plane.
Yeah.
You can't leave, and you
Yeah.
can't
you're in
serve
the terminal and
Yeah.
all the stores are closed. The vending machines are on, right? So
Yeah, I always carry granola bars, protein bars, and I can confidently say that has saved me multiple times by having that. Yeah, the other thing, pay attention to why you're delayed. I recently, I would say, yeah, actually, I think that 8-hour delay, very similar to you, Kobe. It was, I think I had a 7 p.m. flight. I finally got out at like 1 a.m. I got home at like 4 a.m. And it was weather related. There were thunderstorms where I was, and they canceled like over 1,000 flights. And I complained to the airline, hey, WTF? Like, you said any delay over 3 hours, I'm automatically.
Unless it's weather.
Oh, unless it's weather. Right?
Yep.
You can't control the weather. Sorry, sucks for you.
I had that similar story. So the only place, now I always show up, even if my flight's delayed. I always look at the incoming flight. And this one time, I was like tracking my incoming flight, and I was like, okay, it hasn't taken off yet. It's already an hour delayed. And so I was like, whatever, I'm just not going to go to the airport yet. Sky Harbor in Phoenix, this has happened to me twice, and it's the only airport where they will just go grab another plane if they can. And so all of a sudden, 15 minutes before my boarding, it went back to the original time. And we were like, oh my gosh, crap. And so yeah, I made it there because it was only 20 minutes away from my house, but everybody, like the plane was almost dead. There was nobody on it because everybody was didn't realize. Yeah, 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
I've had that happen. That's why they say stay in the airport, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
Good
Teach
old
you a
Sky
lesson.
Always come 2 hours before.
But you get punished for that. It's not Sky Harbor. You're somewhere like, it's like 8 hours waiting in an airport. Or
Exactly.
I could be in a hotel room. I could be at a restaurant. I could be at a bar.
Yep.
Yeah. It happens, right? I mean, planes get delayed, planes break down, and weather, inclement weather or whatnot. I try to stay flexible. I used to be a very upset flyer.
Glenn?
Yeah, I used to be so upset. Like it would just drive me nuts. Like what
Used to be.
You better crap me out. I used to tell him, you used to crap me out another plane because I need to get to where I'm going, right?
That's what you said. Just like that?
Yeah,
There wasn't more
just
choice
like, well,
words, are you sure?
It was maybe a little bit more choice. But lately, I don't know, with all the stuff from COVID, it's like, hey, we banned you. You're banned for life on this airline. I'm like,
welcome to no fly.
maybe not. Yeah, I'm not going to do that, right? So I'm a lot nicer. And I have a rule, like, I can be late to a meeting, but I don't want to be late coming home. So if the plane's delayed going to a meeting, I'm delayed. If a plane's delayed going home, then it's like, hey, is there another flight? Like, can I get on another flight somehow? So, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one thing you don't want to mess with. Like, the U.S. Constitution does not apply to ports of entry, and you do not want to end up on the no-fly list. Like, I see these videos of, let's say, discount airlines. And it's almost always discount airlines, and there's just like these fights that break out either on the plane or at the gate or at the terminal, and it's like, was this really worth it to end up on a no-fly list? Like, you have to take Amtrak for the rest of your life? Like, was that really worth
Wow.
it?
Let's be clear.
Seriously.
It's probably the first and the last time they're probably flying on a plane. Yeah. Well, so I will tell you. Do you remember? It's got to have been 2010, 2000. It must have been like 2005, 2006. JetBlue. They had a plane that was stuck on the tarmac for over 3 hours in New York, and they had pushed back, but they wouldn't let anybody off the plane. They wouldn't let anyone out of their seats, and then it was just really bad. It was a bad situation, right, where they made everybody stay in their seats. I don't know if you guys remember that. Do you guys remember
There are
that?
many stories.
I'm sure.
Well,
Yeah.
anyways,
Yeah. in
Anyway.
bad situations.
After that, they came out with a rule that said, after an hour, if the plane has not departed, or maybe 2 hours, if the plane hasn't departed, the plane has to pull back in order to allow people to get off the plane or
Yeah.
deplane.
That's right.
and
Yeah, I
find
do
another
remember
one, right?
that
Yeah.
flight that changed the rule. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think for the people that were on that flight, they all got like $500, or there's some kind of cash incentive or cash punishment for doing that, right?
Jeez.
For no unexplained reason. And that's because I think at that time they didn't stick to their schedule. So if they said it was a 2 hour flight, it was 2 hours and 30 minutes, and then they basically get fined. Congress came out with some policy based off of that. I was on that flight. So-
Were you really?
Yeah.
So there's
Oh, my word.
There's literally a law that got passed because of Glenn's flight.
Because of
Yeah,
Glenn's
because of
birth.
my flight. Yeah.
It's called
I was
the Glenn
going.
rule.
If Glenn wasn't
Where was I
birthed,
flying to? I was
this rule
flying.
wouldn't have happened.
I was taking the red eye from Sacramento to New York, LaGuardia to Aruba on JetBlue, and yeah, so I was sitting on the runway. That was for work. Don't. Yeah,
Hold on,
What kind
let
of
me-
work is in Aruba?
That's my.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
my. Yeah, I gotta
But,
do it back to you.
But yeah,
That's
that
my
was
plan.
another one of those memorable moments. I was okay. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm a sleeper, right? So I get on a plane and something inside me I get knocked out. Like I just want to go to
That's a
bed.
gift.
Do you get up
Be
again?
thankful for that.
Yeah, I get up again, but I get up and I go, hey, what's going on? And I just go back to sleep, right? So everybody's whining and complaining. I'm like, what's everybody whining and complaining about? We should be there. I'm looking at my watch going, we should be there. And I'm like,
Wait, you left the terminal, Glenn. What are you
we
talking
haven't, like, oh my God, we haven't left yet. Like, what is going on? And this is pre, smartphones, like 2005, right? So
Yeah.
Wow.
I
You're
I
old.
open up the shades and I'm like, hey, what's going on? Why are we still on the ground? I'm like, I thought we'd be there by now. So that was funny.
You could fly by yourself in 2005? Wow.
Yeah.
Couldn't be me.
Yeah. Couldn't be you. Couldn't be you. Well, I
How
don't
about
think
a-
you were born
a
yet,
story?
right, Kobe? You were not even a
Yes,
thought
Lord.
on your parents' minds at that time. Oh wait, I don't think your parents had met each other yet.
Hold on. I wasn't even a thought. Yeah. That's awesome.
Poor Kobe.
Boy, it never ends. Never ends. Why do I keep coming back? I don't know.
We love you, Kobe. Come on.
Brian
no.
hadn't met your mother
we
yet.
love you.
Jesus. Dad? My dad?
Yeah. Well, for everyone for everyone that listens on the pod, we all know that Kobe is Brian's illegitimate son. So.
Long lost son. Yeah.
Oh yes. Yeah, we have to post that photo of Brian on LinkedIn. The one that everybody thinks that he looks like me on.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Well, we continue to get great comments about our dad joke of the week. Dad joke of the week. This week, our guest Kobe is up.
All right, so I just had a detective knock on my door. He said he was looking for a man with one eye, and I told him that if he just used both eyes, he'd probably find the guy a lot quicker.
Bum.
That's my dad joke.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, that's good. That's not bad. That's
you.
way better than ransomware.
Thank you. That's right, I remember that one.
Oh, that's gonna live forever now. So.
That's got limited infamy, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, to wrap things up, cover up your webcam always. No security service can claim 100% uptime. AVCheck got taken down, and airport delays suck. That's all I have for this week. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Find us on LinkedIn. Links will be in the description. Follow us on Instagram at PEBCAK Podcast. Thank you to our listeners and subscribers. Rate us 5 stars in the iTunes Store and Spotify, and left us a review. We appreciate you all spreading the word to help grow the show. The best way to find us is to search for the PEBCAK Podcast on your favorite podcast listening app. My co-host Glenn Medina and our guest, Kobe Caputo. I'm Chris Louie. Thanks for listening. We'll see you all next weekend. As always, have a nice day.
Bye, Felicia.
Have a nice day.